Meghan McPiggy, Meghan McCarran. This girl is stupid. She's not qualified to be on The View. I can't fathom, or I can't even make excuses as towards how these officers feel in terms of their mental capacity for this situation, because this is what you call a situation on January 6th. This is something you would call something that happens all the time in some parts for no reason in third world countries in the Middle East. And McCarran's rhetoric is just, I mean, there's just no words. I actually have a personal story that I've always wanted to share with you guys that has something to do with this January 6th. So I hope you guys watch the whole video. Thank you for your support. Like, I won't be here if you guys don't watch, if you guys didn't subscribe, if you guys don't share or like or comment, because that does help my channel. So I really want you guys to watch the whole video, because I got a personal story that I need to share with you guys. So I'm going to make this quick because I know you guys don't like me doing this introduction. Hi, welcome to JOA. If you're new to my channel, please click subscribe and click the bell so you'll be the first to know when I upload. I'd really do appreciate if you subscribe and you click the bell. Subscribe to my second channel as well, JOA TV. And if you want to support me on patreon.com/JOA, I'd really appreciate it. Lastly, if you are a business looking for YouTube promotions, please email me at joamedia1@gmail.com. I'm affordable. I don't charge a lot. Watch this clip, and I'll come back with some more.
All right, Meghan, these cops were protecting Republican and Democratic officials. Why isn't this a galvanizing moment for everyone? Is it really about just winning, or have we lost something?
I mean, I agree with what you're asking, Whoopi, that it's confusing why this is being politicized, because, again, it's an extremely dark day in American history, definitely one of our darkest days ever. It was just horrific to watch. I can't even fathom what it would have been like to be a law enforcement officer defending the Capitol in that time. I'm equally grossed out by anyone trying to mock the trauma of a law enforcement officer, especially because you're right, Sarah. Blue Lives Matter is something that many Republicans say, and that I certainly have said and believe. Alternatively, I don't like people on the left politicizing these particular law enforcement officers, because I can remember just a few mere months ago being told that all law enforcement were irredeemable and needed different kind of training and should be defunded. And there aren't just a few bad apples. It's an entirely irredeemable, group of people working in law enforcement. That's why we're having so many problems, particularly in Washington, D.C., getting people to come and be recruited to join law enforcement. There's record numbers of police officers retiring all across the country because they don't feel respected and they don't feel supported and they don't feel like they can do their jobs. So when you're saying defund the police, it's not just about cities. It's about places like the Capitol that are vulnerable, that are protecting, some of the most powerful people in all of America doing the most serious of jobs. So I would hope that politics on both sides would be removed for this, and we could take this as a teachable moment about just how valuable police officers and law enforcement are, and that the narrative and the rhetoric from the past year has been equally dangerous. And I just want to send my support to these police officers, because these people on Capitol Hill and in the rest of the country are paid very little, and they are called to do the hardest jobs and put their life on the line every single morning, which is nothing that no pundit in any studio on any network ever is called to do. And I think everyone should have a lot more respect for police officers and watch that testimony if you for some reason still don't.
Well, I applaud everything everyone is saying, but I have to point my finger to the other side. And this isn't about politicizing. These men and women were protecting, as I said in the beginning, both sides of the aisle. They weren't there as just protecting Republicans or Democrats. Their job was to protect everyone there, and for anyone on the left or the right to denigrate what they did, how they did it. I know that Kevin McCarthy suggested that, He wanted to know why the officers didn't have the training and equipment they needed. The man they should have talked to are the House and Sergeant at Arms, both whom resigned. They were on the police board. They were on the board. So this is not about defunding anybody. This has nothing to do with anything but really crappy behavior by really inspired people by the guy that used to live in the White House. That's what this is about. This is not about anything but crappy behavior. I'm going to say it again, on the other side of the aisle.
So this has nothing to do with defunding the police. I told you guys I don't agree with defunding the police. I personally feel like it's just only going to make officers not even do their job even more. And it's funny because she flip-flops. She's a hypocrite. And there's one thing I hate in this world is to be called a hypocrite. And she has been a hypocrite because it's like, she was like, I never really understood. I've always grew up learning to respect the military and respecting the police officers until I got on the show. And I have Sonny Halston to explain to me and I finally get it. And then when it comes to this story and other stories, she turns back and say, well, the left is politicizing everybody, the whole scope of the police force. No. Not everyone on the left is politicizing the police force. Not everybody on the left is saying all police officers are bad. I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. I'm super respectful as well due to the stuff we see, or due to me personally being involved in what I would call police brutality or police mishaps, or basically, for the lack of better phrases, an officer going above his authority, well, going below his authority, not abiding by the protocol of a police officer. And what I want to tell you guys is, forget Meghan McCain, is this isn't just media turmoil. This isn't just about clicks and views from the media. This whole January 6th thing is real. It's I know there's some things in the media that, you know, are spewed. I mean, we can name a whole list of things, from things in Palestine, you know, and you guys finally saw the real after 73 plus years. Just a whole bunch of things that are spewed for just clicks and lies and propaganda and biasness. But this whole thing is real. And I want to share a personal story with you guys to prove that it's real. So I don't recall the year this happened, but this was probably in, I would say 2013, 2014. I was in my early 20s. You know, I lived a sheltered life. I'm a very curious person. I never drank alcohol in my life. I don't smoke or anything. You know, I have indulged, you know, tried a hookah, tried some things. But like I said, it's not for me. I'm very sensitive towards smoke. But, you know, I'm curious. And so, you know, I went out in New Orleans, early 20s, right? And so I'm out by myself in New Orleans in the quarter, walking. All of a sudden, I turn around and there's these two police officers. Undercover police officers approach me. They put their badge and everything. And so they said I was jaywalking, which is the reason why they pretty much stopped and frisked me, took everything out of my pocket, and so on and so forth. And even said if I moved a flinch, they would put me on the ground, like aggressively put me on the ground. Until this day, I remember, I don't know the names because it was dark. I couldn't see the badge. Like I said, they came up to me with drinks in their hand. And, you know, one was overweight, bald. The other guy had a Dr. Phil lookalike hair, skinny. They both had these see-through cups, and they were drinking, and they had badges in their hands. I turned around, they presented their badge. They told me if I move, they're going to put me on the ground. So I complied. And so they stopped and frisked me, of course, without consent, without probable cause, basically saying I was jaywalking. And I was just curious, early 20s, looking around at bars, looking around. And so they thought that was suspicious. And in some sorts, I have photographic memory. I still, till this day, years later, I was probably like 23. So I would say about, 5 years later, I still remember these officers, the New Orleans Police Department, I'm assuming they work for. I still remember how they look till this day. I remember them. If you show me a picture of them, I could just point them out. I didn't report it. I didn't do anything. After they let me go, I walked away. And after that situation, I felt violated. I felt assaulted. I felt like less than human. And in some parts of my life, I do think about it in random times, random moments. And so where the story is going and how this leads to the January 6th insurrection is that I shared this story publicly before on a platform. And I basically commented on a police officer on a platform that was saying some racial stuff. I don't recall what the exact post was, but I was like, wait, you're a police officer and you're saying this? Next thing you know, in his bio on social media, he deleted that he was a police officer. And in my response to that racial post that he mentioned, I shared a story that I just shared with you guys about those two police officers frisking me and taking everything out of my pocket. They took my license, money, everything out of my pocket. Everything. Do you still live here? Do you still live there? And so this guy on social media said that I deserve to be treated like that. I deserve what happened to me. I deserve the moment those two undercover police officers did to me. I deserved it. He said I probably was wearing cornrows. The guy on a social media platform, he said that I probably was wearing cornrows and I probably had my pants below my waist. I probably was sagging and I deserved it. Now, here comes where the story leads to the January 6th. So about maybe like 5-6 months ago, I had a journalist reach out to me. From out of state. And trust me, good journalists, they dig. They really do dig. And this journalist contacted me and told me, hey, I see you had a situation with a police officer on social media and it's public. I saw it publicly and I want to know what happened. And if you want to do a piece on this story. This officer that I got into it on social media, not the two officers that happened to me in public. I shared my story about what happened with those two police officers to the police officer on social media. They end up ridiculing me and telling me I deserve it. So the police officer on social media happened to be at that insurrection, happened to be one of those people over there inciting the insurrection and inciting this. And so I declined to answer that journalist. I actually got very defensive at that journalist and said, hey, you're looking for a story. If you really want to do a story, I suggest you investigate every single police department or at least police departments in your area. If you really care as a human being, and as a journalist about, police reform, police injustice, then you would investigate police departments in your area or every single police department that you can. And so the journalist actually used what was posted on my social media page in his story, but he did not use my username or incite my name, but people can still find it. People can still link me to it. And so I got mad about that. And he was like, well, I can do that. I didn't write your name. I didn't do this. I didn't do that, whatever. So I just let it go. And so this is all comes to say is that it's real, man. This is real. That police officer that on social media that justified what happened to me 3, 4, 5 years ago, at most, was at this insurrection. And mind you, this police officer was a police officer in a department that really has the utmost crimes, national crimes you can see in the United States of America. Okay, so I don't know why he left. There wasn't really no reports as to why he left, but he left, I believe, before the whole insurrection, before he attended there. And the way there are like reports of him, like news articles of him at the insurrection going on social media, being live on social media, talking about it and everything, and being pro insurrection and everything. And so I would tell you this, like I said, I don't know why or what happened as to why he's no longer in that police department anymore. But when he justified what happened to me, what I went through in New Orleans, saying that because my pants were sagging or because I was wearing cornrows. First of all, look at my hair. Do I look like I wear cornrows? I don't sag my pants either. And so I actually called his police department and left a message to the chief of police. And I actually also linked that postage to them as well. And that's how the journalist saw it. You know what I mean? That's how the journalist saw it. And so I don't know if that's the reason. I don't think so, because I never got contacted back. They never called me back. They never, contacted me back on the internet either. So I don't know like what happened. But this is all just to say, man, that this is real, man. This isn't for clicks. This isn't for views with the news media about this insurrection day. This is pure white supremacy. And that's just not me using the words. Y'all know that I hate using race. I hate playing a race card. But when I had a situation that happened to me 3, 4, 5 years ago, and that police officer on social media justified it and ridiculed me as well, that happened to be at an insurrection as well, and me ended up being contacted by a journalist, that's a justification for me to say, or a reason for me to say, yes, this is white supremacy. It is what it is. And that's my story. And I did not want to talk to that journalist because, this is something that that is just like, I didn't want to talk about. I just didn't want to talk about it. The journalist was just really looking for a story. He had other articles and other quotes from other people. So, I mean, the story was an article. It wasn't like something that was going to be on camera. This was out of state. And so, this is real. And this is equivalent to domestic terrorism that occurs, that when the U.S. goes overseas, more than likely for no reason, just to go, this is equivalent to that. And for somebody to be a politician daughter, to try to justify the situation is very ridiculing. And I can probably almost promise you that her mother, and I'm not even going to call her a mistress because I don't want to be like that in this video, but I can tell you that her mother, Cindy McCain, is probably ashamed of her today for saying that. For justifying a situation, for justifying a massacre, a potential massacre, a terrorist attack, a potential terrorist attack, violence, a mass, whatever, at the U.S. Capitol. This is from a senator's daughter, like someone that works in the highest power of government. That's just crazy, man. That's insane. Those words that came out of her mouth, and I'm sure her mother right now is ashamed of her right now. I'm sure she's ashamed and sure she's pissed off. And I'm sure she probably got a call after the show, and her mother probably was really ashamed of her, honestly. But y'all, just watching that video on The View today about Meghan McCain talking about it and just justifying it, like tears roll down my eyes, because when I related that story that happened to me with those 2 police officers, and then there is an officer that's in law enforcement justifying that, saying racial innuendos to me, talking about that I probably was sagging my pants, I probably was wearing cornrows. That's just like, that's what a lot of these police officers are in law enforcement. It's not all of them. That's what a lot of them are, and this is what police officers are about. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for police officers. Even when I was working during the pandemic, washing cars, I would even give them a discount. Sometimes I would even let them go for free. There was one that I did not. I had him pay full price. He had a whole Trump emblem, not because he had a whole Trump emblem in his personal car, but because he wasn't friendly. So he paid full price. But yeah, so it's like I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. It's not everybody. It's just it's I'm sure it's a big cusp of them, but it's not all of them. It's not, there's people my color, there's people your color that serve in law enforcement. There's even Caucasians, there's white people as well that want to protect and serve and that want to fulfill the duties that they were hired for. And then there's others that like to go above the law and thinking they're above their authority and do stuff to me or whoever. But whatever, do stuff to me or whatever and really think they're not going to be held accountable for it. But anyways, just let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for the support so far. Like I said, that story, just till this day, I still remember those two undercover officers. Like, I still remember it. I still remember how they look. Like, I have photographic memory in most senses, and I still remember it. Please just subscribe and click the bell so you'll be the first to know when I upload. Thank you for watching.